Hi everyone, welcome back to the Funny Bstrd Podcast with me, Paul Smith, and
me, Callum Oakley.
This is episode 13. Thank you for joining us again. As always, we have our sponsors, Eye Candy Delivery, delivering all your sweetie needs to the Liverpool area. Get on them at Eye Candy Delivery. We have Hot Water Comedy Club at HWCC Liverpool. As always, we are coming at you live from, well, not live, it's recorded. I don't know why I said that, but live in the moment from Slideaway Records at Slideaway Records. Yeah. How are you, Callum?
I'm excited.
Excited?
Yeah.
I can tell you're excited. I can feel the energy.
Hello.
We have some very, very special guests this week. They are Nigel and Stephen from the Freemasons. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, I'm Stephen Blank's my name. My official title is Provincial Grand Master of the province of Cheshire. So that's the county of Cheshire, if you like.
Grand Master.
Provincial Grand Master.
Why is provincial?
Well, because we call counties provinces, we're split into counties. So I'm just provincial. The Grand Master's the Duke of Kent, so I'd hate to get confused.
I don't want the Duke of Kent kicking off here.
No. Wouldn't be good for me.
My name's Nigel Argyle. I am the Provincial Communications Officer. So again, the comms person for the Cheshire and surrounding area.
Okay. See, this is what confuses me, right? Because I'm obviously clearly wrong, but as I understood it, the Freemasons was a very secretive thing, and for you to have a communications officer for something that is not meant to be communicated about
Doesn't fit, does it?
No, I feel like Nigel's blagged the job here.
I've been caught out with any question one.
His job is to say nothing for an hour and a half.
No comments.
Yeah.
That's like me for the podcast, isn't it? I'm like the communications. I say nothing.
Yeah. So how this came about was, I don't know. I don't know how this came about, to be honest. But like,
So I watched a conspiracy program on Netflix about the Freemasons, and they were saying about things where like they sacrifice goats and stuff. Right? Yeah. So I just found it dead interesting.
I'm going to disappoint you terribly because we don't sacrifice goats.
Oh, why have we got them on then? Well, we were doing it live.
Send the goat back.
You wanted us to demonstrate it, but yeah, don't do that. we really don't.
But there was all sorts. There was something about. You thought there was something about socks.
There's something to do with socks. That you have to like that's an indication that you're a Freemason. You've got something like you pull your socks up or something.
No, right. We do ceremonies. We do rituals. Okay, which are little morality plays. That's what we do, and they're based on what the old-fashioned guilds used to do. You know, where people used to build stuff. The Guild of Builders back in the 13th century, and they used to do quite a lot of things to prove that they were who they said they were. And we've adopted some of those things in order to make our little plays up, and we do those in our ceremonies. We don't do those in the outside world. I mean, if I need to tell somebody I'm a Freemason, I say I'm a Freemason. My LinkedIn page says I'm the head of the Cheshire Freemasons. So it's not we don't need all of that stuff, but we do it in our things in our ceremonies that we keep private. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's nothing to do with socks.
He can't tell you that.
No, okay.
But is this comfort there? It makes me believe that there's something to do with socks. And now I'm going to walk around with one sock.
The more commonly known one is a handshake, which again that was from the guilds back in the 30s. Yeah. People couldn't write. Okay, so how do you prove you didn't have little passes RFID cards that you passed to somebody? So you gave them a particular handshake that showed that you were this degree of a builder, or you were such a degree of a builder. You knew how to make complicated things. And the only way you could prove it, if you come from one city and you go to another city, you go to in Nottingham, right? I want to help you build a cathedral in Nottingham. How do I prove that I'm a builder? So you gave these little signs.
Like a mad handshake.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool,
Yeah.
My dad's a builder and he's got really tough, solid hands. So if he shook your hand, you'd be like, oh, he's a builder.
He'd probably make a great Freemason. It's all about the socks and the handshakes.
It could be, yeah.
So what So how did you become a Freemason? Have you, like, this is something you did when you were young? Was your dad a Freemason?
My dad was a Freemason, yeah. And he never kept it a secret. You know, he always talked about it. And you know, when I got to be sort of about 24, I think he said, you know, right, you know, it's time for you to join. And in those days, you know, when your dad said it's time for you to join, you join. And a lot of people that I knew were members. As well, so it's the other nice thing about Freemasonry is you can join something with your dad. You know, most of the things you do, and obviously you wouldn't want to do everything, you know, with your dad, but most of the things you do with your mates, your contemporaries. Yeah. And it was actually quite pleasant socialising. You know, once I was married and all the rest of it, socialising with my father and that sort of journey, as well as my mates. You know, but also, you know, different generations.
You get together, you have meetings and stuff, and you do these rituals and things like that. How'd you get to be like provincial grandmaster?
Well, you do it for quite a long time, I suppose. I mean, I've been
like
doing this for 40 years.
Black belt?
Yeah. Sorry?
Is that like a black belt in Freemasonry?
I suppose it probably is, really.
I've thought of it like that.
I've never really thought of it like that. I suppose it must be something like that.
So how does that make you like a brown belt with it?
Yeah, I'm probably a white belt. I've just got the kit.
Oh, the gear. No idea. So how long have you been a Freemason for?
So I've been in Freemason 11 years. So I joined, my granddad was a Freemason, my dad was a Freemason. Unlike Stephen, my dad didn't ask me to join, just because of the age, really. He was of a certain age and I was just kind of off to college and one thing and another. And it was actually a mate of mine who asked me to join, which I did. And then kind of went to tell my dad I'd joined and he was going, flipping out. So then we had a conversation about Freemasonry, which again was just, you know, very interesting. I think he was pleased I joined, but no, I think everybody has a different journey. So I've been in it 11 years now. Yeah. I've been doing the comms job for probably the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What like the benefits of being a Freemason? Because I looked online, something about free healthcare.
We already got that.
No, I mean like Bupa or something to do with Bupa. You get like.
Do you get free Bupa?
No.
It's on the website, I think.
Socks and that again, isn't it?
I wish I did. No, well, look, we have a charity and a welfare organisation for our members. Mm-hmm. So we've got there is support if you can't afford it and you don't have healthcare and so on. There is support for Freemasons or their dependents, you know, who need medical help. We've got retirement homes as well. We've got care homes around the country. I think there's about 17 care homes around the country that we run that are available. Well, they're not only available for Freemasons, but they're available for Freemasons and for their dependents, you know, as well. So, I mean, you could call that a benefit, but it's, you know, we pay quite a lot for that benefit in our subscriptions. But the main benefit is friendship. Frankly, it's just you know. We're grouped into lodges. We're grouped into quite small groups because you were asking before about how do people get to do what I'm doing. We start off in a lodge, so you're in a group of 20 or 30 people, and you get to know each other extremely well. You do these rituals. You have dinner. You have a laugh, and some people, you know, want to do more, so they start working for the province. The lodges are grouped into provinces around the country. So some people say, well, actually, I'm a bit interested in doing something else, you know, beyond my lodge, just for the province. Lots of people just stay in their lodge and they go to their lodge meetings and that's what they do and they're happy. But it's about friendship. That's the main thing we gain.
Yeah, and I think, as Steve says, in my day job, I do a bit of work with comms, marketing, etc., etc. So whilst I enjoy being in my own lodge, we meet next Thursday, we meet 7 times a year, meet the same group of people, have a bit of fun. That's 7 times a year. You know, what else can you do? Well, to support Cheshire, the province of Cheshire, you know, there was a role in terms of communication. So, you know, we have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, an Instagram account, a website.
Very secretive.
Yeah.
Very secretive. It's all about socks on this. Pictures of socks.
Just a footy sock on your head.
So that's all out there. We got, I mean, obviously, you know, we speak to the press, we speak to you guys, and we need to coordinate that. So there's people who will go out and do it, and it's a role. Because like any organisation, there are administrative roles. There's jobs that need to be done, and they get titles. There's the secretary or the whoever it may be. Every organisation needs some kind of a hierarchy of work of people doing things, and that's how it's set up really. And Stephen heads it up.
So let's say I want to be a Freemason, right? So I go to the Liverpool Freemasons, Merseyside, whatever it is, right?
That's West Lancashire. That's a different
Lancashire.
province. Stay in Cheshire.
Stay in Cheshire.
Yeah.
Okay.
You look stupid.
There's one in Wallace.
But I live in Prescott, so am I allowed?
No, you're allowed. It's whatever suits, actually.
Wherever I want to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to join the Cheshire Freemasons. So then I want to join the lodge. So I go in one day, and you pay. So you pay a subscription. You sign up.
It's
get
not
your cloak.
It's not just about you get your socks. It's not just about subscription. I mean, before you get to that stage, there'd be quite a lot of getting to know you.
Okay.
So you'd meet with some of the lodge, the lodge officers. You'd meet, probably go to a social meeting and so on and so forth. They'd tell you a lot about Freemasonry before they join, because there's a commitment. There's time commitment as well as money commitment, and it just doesn't suit everybody, and they need to make sure as well that you suit them.
Yeah.
So there's at least 6 months to a year of getting to know you. If you filled in one of our web forms and said I'm interested, we would send you to what looks like the right lodge, and they'd chat to you for a good few months before you decide.
The fact that I can't do it makes me want to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
I'm not saying you can't do it. It just takes time, because the lodge is a small group of people, and it has to get on. People have to get on with each other. So
it's got to fit with you, hasn't it? Because if you join a lot, or a mate says to you, "Come along to my lodge," and it meets on a Thursday, and you're doing this on a Thursday or a Friday, whatever it is. That wouldn't be the right lodge for you. Some meet on a Saturday. Some, and again, it's what your interests. So some groups have, more elderly people. Some have, again, it's what works for you, that you'd be directed to a lodge, because we'd want you to join and stay, not join to find out and then find out about the thing that you've heard in a conspiracy and never be seen again.
People ever get disappointed when they come, and you're not like when they get told that they're in and they don't get a sack on their head and throw them in the back of a van and wake up and there's loads of people with ghost sets on.
To be honest, that's why we are one of the reasons why we're trying to be more open, so that people don't come with the wrong idea, because we want people to join for life, and many people join, and they're members for right through their lives, because it's not a young person's club or an old person's club. So we want them to join for life. And if you come expecting goats and socks, you're not going to stay in for very long, because you're going to discover that they're just not there. So we're happy to tell you an awful lot about what we do and what we don't do, so that you can say, actually, that's not for me. That sounds a bit dull and boring. That's not for me. Or alternatively, that sounds like the sort of thing I want to do, because we want you to join and to stay.
And I think it's a balance as well, isn't it? Because there is, obviously, you believe some of the things you hear, or there's a mystique around it. If you go online, you can find out everything about Freemasonry.
This is what done, because on the first podcast, he was saying that he had this big conspiracy theory, and then he Googled it, and you had the website, and I was like, well, that's not very secret, is it?
And I think that's the point. But if you were going to join, if you were going to join, if you find too much out before you join, what's the point of joining? It's like, why'd you go to a cookery class to find out how to cook? There's no point somebody saying.
So there is there's layers once you get in. There's stuff.
There's degrees and layers that you go through, and you discover more at each step. But the idea is about making people good people. They are morality plays. We're trying to teach people to be decent people by using illustrations from those ancient guilds and what they used to do. So that's why we're the Masons. It's about building. So we use some of those things to illustrate, about how you should behave well towards each other. And generally speaking, people do.
And if you don't like it, you can leave.
Oh yeah,
not just
absolutely.
Hide forever.
You can't.
Don't get branded.
Well, I'm not going to demonstrate, but no. It's a free thing. You join and you pay, and we like people to stay for life, and many people do.
You ever forgot the handshake?
There's something. Well,
like when you got made provincial grandmaster and you got taught a new handshake and you were doing
just rehearsing it in the mirror.
Yeah, you were doing the wrong one and you walked in. You're like, and they're like, you're like, I am.
Nigel makes a good point though, because we do keep these things private. And they do make an impact. So when you have the particular ceremony, they make an impact. You don't forget it. You do not forget it. You really don't.
Well, I think that's the point, isn't it? If you were to join, you would come along with expectations of A, and it depends how much you've researched it, but you would come along and go, that really is, I didn't think it was going to be like that, and it sticks with you, it stays in your mind, and that's what a lot of people get out of it. And then, of course, they meet 30 new people they've never met. They sit down, they have a meal, they have a couple of pints. They realise they're all, similar people. They have a laugh. They have, and that's kind of what people get out of Freemasonry. When you say what are the benefits, the first thing is, every month you bump into 30 mates and have some fun. That's the first thing. It's a hobby.
And also, for young people, your job moves you around the country. So if you join, we've got a University Lodge of Chester. We've got a lodge here for people from the university, and obviously a lot of them will move somewhere else, when they've graduated. But they can join a lodge in wherever it is that they go to, and instantly there's 30 odd people there that they know and are friendly with. So it's a great benefit, I think, to younger people. We're seeing a lot of people, retired people as well, who are joining as well. They've been at the workplace, busy with all the people at the workplace. All of a sudden they're retired and there's only their wife to talk to. So which for 6 months is it's easy. Well, I've never
You're on your own.
How much of a grandmaster you are, mate?
No communications again, you're on that one.
Yeah.
I love how you've been talking about friendship and bonding, and as soon as you said that, he went, you're on your own. I quit the Freemasons.
Yeah, fair point.
It's definitely a friendship thing to start with. And then the longer you're in it, it's like with any organisation, the longer you're in it, the more you can get involved. If you've got the time, if you've got the interest, you can take it to where you want to, really. And there's Freemasonry, it's not been touched on yet, we do a heck of a lot of work for charity. So, there's lots of things around that. And again, meeting new people, deserving causes, and, a lot of, which is nice, nice to do, nice to get involved with.
Yeah.
It's something else you learn as part through the ceremonies and part of what you do. And it does make people, we're not a charity as such, but we do a lot for charity. And that's emphasised through the ceremonies as well. And we've got some research that says that people become more charitable by virtue of being Freemasons. And as an organisation, I think we gave about £48 million to charity last year. As a
national subscriptions must be a lot there, isn't it?
No, it's all no. It's that's voluntary donations.
Really?
But only from Freemasons. We don't collect from other people. We just collect from ourselves.
How many Freemasons would you estimate there are in the UK? It's a worldwide thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 200,000 in United Grand Lodge of England, which covers England, Wales, Isle of Man, Channel Islands. That's 200,000, and then there's Scotland has its own Grand Lodge. Ireland has its own Grand Lodge as well, which we're very close to. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know how many members they have, but quite a substantial number.
Is the one is the Freemasons in anywhere else, like the US?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah. No, there's Freemasons lodges that we recognise. It's not my organisation, United Grand Lodge of England. We recognise lots and lots of Grand Lodges all around the world, including the states of America. Each have their own sort of Grand Lodge because they're so big.
Yeah.
So each state will have its Grand Lodge. South America, it's all over the world, and I think I've seen estimates that say that about 6 million Freemasons across the whole world. I mean, we have lodges overseas as well.
So when you travel around and you're say somewhere and you find yourself a bit stuck, you can go phone up the Grandmaster of say Texas.
Yeah, no. Well, people do that. I mean, to be honest, I've never done that. I spend enough of my time doing Freemasonry. So when I'm on holiday, I tend to be on holiday and
take your socks off completely,
wiggling the toes by the pool.
I haven't been able to take them off for 3 years. But lots of people do that when they go abroad. You know, they make a point of visiting the local lodge, and again, it's like Nigel says, you find friends there instantly. It's really good. Your cruise ships, if people go on cruises and so on, there's usually a Masonic meeting will take place on most of the cruise ships, sort of thing.
Mad that.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if I went to work away for a few days and I wanted to wherever, Blackpool, and I wanted to find a Masonic lodge, it'd be very easy because they'll have a website. There'll be a Masonic Hall, which is usually clearly signposted. You know, find out which lodge, if I'm there for a few days, which lodge meets at what time, wherever. You know, ring up, see if I can pop along. And
so you all have you have Masonic Halls, and it's just for you, like they're not.
No, not at all. No.
There's one on Hope Street, and it's called the Masonic, and I was like, is that a real Masonic? Because it's got like the badge on. Is that the Masonic Hall?
Yeah, that's a Masonic Hall.
The hall with the big sign outside that says it's a Masonic
Hall. But that's what I mean. But like you look at it and go, can't be it though, because it's a secret.
Don't come in. Don't come in.
We're pretty open about things like this.
So that's the one on Hope Street in Liverpool. That's a
that is a Masonic Hall.
It's not just a pub called the Masonic.
No.
There's a number of pubs called the Freemasons Arms, I think.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. But no, we've got I think it's about 30 odd halls around Cheshire. Different parts of Cheshire where we
you get
where
cheap
we
drinks if you go in. You got the right socks on.
No.
Cost more.
I'll back again.
They've got to make a living. You know, the halls are have got to make you've got to survive.
Not even as a Grand Master, you don't get a free pint.
Well, people have been known to buy me a drink occasionally.
If you're a white belt.
Nigel doesn't get a pint.
If they've got
lime and soda.
Get back the bar, Nigel.
If they've got any sense, they buy me a drink.
But a lot of the Masonic halls are used for other things as well. So there's a hall in Chester. It's a Masonic hall. It's also used for as a wedding venue, but it's also it's used for other events. It's run as a business, isn't it? It's, but obviously we also use it, and so do others.
Nice.
And we're actually going to have some open days, aren't we? At the end of September. So we're going to try and I think open all of our Masonic halls to have open days, so that the public can come in and look for goats and
the main Masonic Hall in London on Great Queen Street is often and it's a beautiful building, but it's open to the public. In fact, they do tours. There's a museum, and it's a great place to go for anybody, whether you're interested in Freemasonry or not. It's a smashing place to visit. But that was the same venue used for spooks. It's been used for filming, the clothes show, and there was an open event last year, and I think it was the second busiest venue in London for visitors during the open season. So very well received, and something that will be repeated and happens around the country. We've done them before in Cheshire. People come in, pop along, walk into the room. What's that? And ask about the symbolism and what does that mean, and people on hand to answer as much as they can, really.
What does because your symbols are like the eye and the triangle, isn't it? Mm-hmm. What does that? What's the? Is it the third? It's like the third eye or something like that.
It's the
I'm going from Dan Brown books here, probably.
the all-seeing eye. It's to represent what we call the great architect of the universe. That's what we call God. And we use that word because we're not a religion, so we're for people of any religion. So we're, instead of using any particular word like Allah or God or whatever it is, we use our own word for it, and that means whatever somebody means. But whatever somebody calls God, that's fine.
Yeah. So if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're not spiritual. It's not a religious thing.
We like people to be spiritual, but we don't care what the religion is.
Okay.
That's the thing. I think if people are not spiritual, it probably wouldn't be for them.
Yeah. What about if you've done DMT and saw the serpent?
If you've done what, sorry?
Do you want to translate that for me?
You're gonna have to get on board with this, Stephen, right? I was not a spiritual person, and I did something. When you die, Stephen, right, or anyone, not just you in particular, your brain releases a chemical called dimethyltryptamine, right? And they've found a way of synthesizing this so you can take it as a drug. And lasted about 5 minutes, and I went to a place. I've never done anything like this before. I'm not a drug user, other than small amounts of marijuana. But I experimented with this DMT, and I was carried away by a giant serpent. And I felt like I spoke to another being from another universe, and I now believe in an afterlife. And I think that's where you go. And there's a lot of people who report the same experience when they've taken this substance, more than could be considered a coincidence if you look into it. So I'm like, now that's kind of my spirituality, and I don't know if that's a recognised spirituality, but...
I think that's a whole other podcast. I think
it's being covered.
I think we'd like to perhaps be in the audience or something.
Yeah, it'd be much more interesting to listen to that one. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to have a go, Stephen,
invite us along to the audience.
We'll go on lunch.
I'll just take your word for it. I think that's yeah.
Cool. Okay. I just wanted to clear that. No, because I don't want to like try and join and then they're like, you're not spiritual. I believe in the big black serpent that carried me away when I went DMT. I know everyone's laughing at me, but I feel like that's...
You actually believe in that now,
I do genuinely believe in it.
Yeah. You've never heard of that before, have you?
No.
Well, it was like there's a lot of like ancient Egyptian symbolism in it and stuff like that. It was the absence of colour. It was amazing. It was amazing, and I felt safe, and it told me everything was going to be okay in a language. It didn't say that. I knew what it meant.
Did you say everything or everything?
Everything. It told me not to worry.
Right.
So everything's just, it basically makes you feel, it gives you a lot of perspective and makes you feel like all your worries are small.
I love how we're having a serious conversation, just talk about DMT.
I feel like this is a serious conversation. No one takes me DMT seriously.
Can I ask you a little question? I've spent 3 years of my life watching a programme called The Curse of Oak Island. Have you ever watched it?
No.
So there's an island in Nova Scotia, and they say it's linked to the Freemasons, and this was like another reason why I got dead intrigued, because they say there's like this treasure buried on the island, and 11 people have to die before the treasure can get found. 10 people have died trying to find it, but around the island there's all Freemason like carvery and like carvery. Yeah, you go for a roast dinner on the island. There's a Toby carvery there. They're good.
And 11 people have to die from the carvery.
Yeah, just eating too much.
Food poisoning.
But yeah, they say it's all linked to it. So I was going to ask you if there's any link. I don't know if you're allowed to say it, but I doubt there is. But is there any link to that island or?
Not in my brand of Freemasonry. Absolutely not. I mean, there's quite. No. I'm not. I'm trying to know nothing about it. You'll find lots of buildings. I mean, there's Rosslyn. You talk about Dan Brown and so on. There's a Rosslyn cathedral, whatever, up in Scotland. There's all sorts of symbols around the place that, frankly, nobody knows what they mean. They've just sort of carved lots and lots of stuff, and maybe it meant somebody to somebody once upon a time. And people, come up with theories about what it means. But a symbol's a symbol. It means what you want it to mean. I think.
If you go back to your, the symbol with the eye and what does it mean?
Yeah.
The rest of that is a square and a compass. So we talk about buildings and masons. It's a square and a compass. But if you look again, you go, oh, it's obviously a square and a compass because now you know. And that's the kind of the symbolism around Freemasonry.
Yeah, I mean those are used in building, and we've taken them on and we use them to to talk about morality. Act on the square. There's an expression I think most people talk about. They took that from the Freemasons, and we mean just act properly towards people, and we use a square to just illustrate that. And the compasses, to stay in bounds. We're using all of these building things. Plum rule
just to articulate the story, to keep the interest.
To make a story about it. So,
I'm fascinated by it because obviously everybody has this impression as we've repeatedly brought up that it's a big secretive kind of thing, and obviously as you've said there's secrets behind it and stuff like that, but it's like you seem a lot more open than I imagined you were going to be.
I thought it was going to be pretty close.
It's a lot more light-hearted than I imagined. Like I imagined to be a really stern, serious kind of.
We wouldn't have any members.
That makes sense now that you say it.
Yeah, once you join, you are trapped.
Yeah.
You can't get out.
Because obviously you've said that there's obviously levels and veils, and like once you get like you work through the stages of Freemasonry. What happens if, like, let's say for example, like you now decided as provincial Grand Master you'd had enough and you didn't really want to be part of it anymore and you wanted to leave. You obviously know stuff that you. Do you have to sign like a non-disclosure or anything like that? Or did they just? Is this one of those things where you're now in a position of such trust where they will say you won't ever tell anyone?
It's a position of trust, but it's absolutely you don't sign anything. And as Nigel says, to be honest, all of these things, if you look on the internet, you can find pretty much everything, if not everything. All these so-called secrets can be found on the internet. We just encourage people not to look on the internet, so they experience them the way we want to. We want to unfold a story. Yeah. That's the only reason behind it. So there are no things that I could tell. If I resigned, tomorrow.
That's not there already.
If you look on the Cheshire Twitter account, just in the last 24 hours,
selfies of you.
Yeah, it's just me. But even the last, say, 48 hours, you will see that there's something up there about a guy who's celebrated 50 years in Freemasonry. There's pictures of him and all his friends around him. There's a cake, whatever it might be. We gave X pounds to a certain charity. There's a picture of the guy stood there handing a cheque over, and all the kids getting. It's all there. And that's kind of what the different lodges within Cheshire and indeed across the country are doing on a daily basis, at meetings, after meetings, at weekends. That's the kind of thing we do. So you do the ceremony, and then obviously there is the, now we're downstairs, we're going to have a pint and a bite to eat, and X has been in it 50 years, so let's make his night a special night.
Mm. I was at a lodge last night, which is celebrating 200 years. It's a 200-year-old lodge, and so we have a big celebration. Somebody came from London, from Grand Lodge down in London, to present them a certificate and so on. And everybody had a really good evening, a bit to drink, and a few formalities, and everyone had a good time.
Yes. Do you get a robe?
Do you get a robe?
Yeah.
You can get a robe. Have
you got a nice robe though?
I have got a nice robe. Yeah. I've got a nice red robe. Yeah.
I wanted a robe with like a nice sashy belt thing.
Yeah.
Big hood.
Has yours got a hood?
Hasn't got a hood. No. Sorry about that.
You got like a mask.
No. So people know who I am.
Don't you know from the handshake?
I couldn't possibly confirm.
Can you teach us a you can't. What's like the first entry level handshake? Is it just a normal handshake?
I don't think. Can you say that?
I can't say really, and the reason I can't say is all my colleagues know that we take an obligation not to tell people about it, and that's to teach people to keep their word. So if I start telling you, all the private things that we do in our ritual, I'm breaking my word on whatever it is. Whatever it is, we're
whatever
on.
This is. No one listens to this.
Somebody might, that would be wrong, and it would just spoil it for other people, and that's just not what I want to do.
Yeah, no, fair play.
But depending on your view of that is if you want to find out, you can. And in one way, that's a good thing because it's not secretive. In another way, it's a shame because if you joined, you'd already know. And that's why we encourage people not to go on the internet because not to go on the internet, not to find everything out before they join because of that impact that Stephen referred to before.
Okay. So if someone's listening to this now and they're really interested, you've come across very well, I think. And if they want to join the Freemasons of wherever they are, Cheshire or wherever they live, and people listen to this all over the country, you say it's easy to find out how. Just Google local Freemasonry.
UGLE.org.uk.
UGLE.org.uk.
That's the national website.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they're all over the country, they can go there, and that'll direct them to Cheshire if they're from Cheshire, or there's our CheshireMasons.co.uk website as well if they're in Cheshire and want to see what we get up to in Cheshire.
Then you expect maybe 6 months to a year of getting to know before you're inducted into.
So is it like a private investigator kind of thing that follows you? No,
they come around to your house, or you're invited around to their house for a whiskey, with your wife, partner, or beer or whatever it is, with wife or partner as well, because it's important that he or she, is behind what you're doing as well. So meet with them and tell them about it as well. So that's what would happen over the next sort of 6 to 9 months.
And if you think about it, it's common sense, isn't it, to meet somebody? I had a guy joined our lodge a few months ago. First met him a year ago. He was interested in joining. He'd never been to a lodge, didn't really know much about it, read the odd thing. We went out, had a pint, but of course he didn't know how much is it going to cost a year. How often is it a year? What will it involve? Etc. So how will it fit in with his job? So they're pretty basic questions you need to be able to answer before you know if you want to join.
Are you allowed to say that now? How much it costs and stuff? Is that all on the website?
I think every lodge is different. We pay a subscription, but then obviously we also pay a sum of money towards the lodge. So for my lodge, it's probably £120 a year, maybe. It costs me to be a member of the lodge, which covers for obviously a contribution of that goes towards the hall that we use, because obviously it's got to be up. There's some upkeep there, and then the only other costs would be on the night that we go. There's obviously a meal. We have a meal. A couple of drinks or whatever, obviously it's got to be self-funded. So it's not, and then obviously the charitable bit is there will be a raffle. We'll put some money into a couple of pound here there for a raffle or whatever it might be. But that's down to individual choice. If they want
to stick like 10 grand in his robe. You know what's good for you.
It's cheaper to buy whiskey.
We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Down and so much. Let us know what it's all about. You've cleared up a lot of things.
Yes,
I hope so. Clearer.
I'm a lot clearer now.
Okay. It feels better. Honestly, he's been panicking, thinking that you were after him. He's been having real he's been flapping all week because he's like, I don't know what I feel like they're coming for me.
I have messages from Freemasons in America since I mentioned it on the podcast, and they've all been messaging me and stuff. So I thought everyone was out to get me, but they haven't got me yet. So
you seem to be still here.
I'm still here until after this, when you two fucking take me. Just me socks left on the car park.
No, we really appreciate you coming down. Thank you for being
on.
Thanks
for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good to meet you.
Can we watch your socials? We can tag your socials and stuff like that.
So Cheshire PGL, at Cheshire PGL.
Cheshire PGL.
So PGL Provincial Grand Lodge. So at Cheshire PGL, or just Cheshire PGL, which is Instagram, Twitter, and then for Facebook it's Province of Cheshire Freemasons.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Please look
for listening, everyone. Thank you, Callum. Thank you to our sponsors, Eye Candy Delivery, Hot Water Comedy, and Slideaway Records. Thank you to our audience, which has dwindled but is still here. Yes, it's been a lovely day. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week when we'll have more fantastic guests. If you do join the Freemasons, let us know how you get on your journey. Give us a little message. Obviously, don't tell us any secrets. But you might see us down there. You never know. Secret handshake. Imagine we just get this. See you all again next week. Players out, Danny. Funny bastard, funny bastard.